in Philly this weekend, we got one other amazing scene that got a bunch of national attention. Voters showed us that while the 6 feet distance is needed for social distancing because of COVID, 6 feet is also apparently, scientifically speaking, it's the exact amount of space you need to properly perform the cha-cha slide. If you are wondering why we had to blur the guy who's the really good dancer, the guy in front, we had to blur his shirt, it's because his shirt features a short and to the point expletive followed by the word 2020. You can guess. And 2020 has been an abominably bad year, but it is made a little less abominably bad by this kind of sort of amazing joy and cheer being spread at the polling places. To that end, I should tell you that the last video we showed you from Philly was not a spontaneous one-off dance party that happened to just break out at that polling site. It was part of a project from a group called Election Defenders, who describe themselves as a nonpartisan coalition to make sure voters are staying safe and healthy outside polling places across the country, and also bringing them some joy. That polling place in Philly this weekend was actually the kickoff site for a campaign they are calling Joy to the Polls, where they bring live music to voters who are stuck in line waiting to cast their ballots. The organizers say they are planning similar events at polling places all across the country on Election Day. Joining us now is Nalini Stamp, who's campaign director for Election Defenders. She's a longtime organizer who also serves as director of strategy for the Working Families Party. Ms. Stamp, it's a real pleasure to have you here tonight. Thanks very much for joining us to talk about this.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
I feel like the joy that you created at the polls was sort of not mimicked, but it also sort of manifest in vivid joy among people just covering it and learning about the fact that you're doing it. It sort of feels like the first good news story about our terrible voting system and about this incredibly fraught election that I think anybody's heard in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have to do this. Voter suppression has run rampant in our communities for such a long time. People are waiting 4 hours, 3 hours online, and there's been lots of reports that there is going to be militias or white supremacists out of polling places stationed. And so we at Election Defenders, which has been put together by the Movement for Black Lives, the Working Families Party, Mi Gente, and a ton of other grassroots organizations, we're just figuring out how can we ensure that voters feel safe. So we've been training thousands of folks in de-escalation and making sure that we're talking to local artists to put roving music concerts outside of polling places. But the bottom line is that we shouldn't have to do this. But we're going to, play the cards that we've been dealt with and make sure that we can bring a little bit of joy in, what has been a not so good year.